All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome back for some of our classrooms that are joining us from last year. We are so excited to be back. My name is Lindsay Humphreys, and I'm the Program Director for Junior Achievement of New Mexico. We started this program, and it is open to JA students across New Mexico, and we highlight business professionals, entrepreneurs, and innovative thinkers from a variety of industries. Each of our featured speakers are going to share details about their education, their job, and their career journey. The one thing that's going to look a little bit different from last year is we're going to be featuring a panel today. So we have two amazing women that are going to be sharing their stories with you, and we'll be facilitating some question and answer discussions throughout this time. But before we get started, we have a few virtual meeting etiquette reminders. This is recorded, and so the recording has started, and we will post this onto our YouTube channel. So feel free to send the YouTube link to anyone in your network, or if there are other classrooms that might be able to utilize this resource. And at this time, if I could please have the teachers or the students that are on the call with us or community members, just type your first name into the chat box so that we can keep track of attendance. And if you're a teacher and you have students on the call, just let us know how many students are attending with you. And then during the speaker's presentation, we will have their mics unmuted so that they can talk and do the panel, but please make sure everyone else stays muted during that time. Today, we are so excited to welcome Sara Ross, the IT Supervisor for Client Services at PNM, and Dalina Amador-Bouvet, who is the Supply Chain Sourcing Group Manager for PNM as well. So we are so excited and delighted to have you featured as our speakers, especially as we start off on this amazing new school year. So we'll start off with some of our panel questions, and we'll just go in order. So we'll start with Sara. And so, Sara, could you please just take a moment and share with the students your name, your title, your company, and how long you've worked there?
I'm Sara Ross. I'm the IT Supervisor for Client Services at PNM Resources. So I support both PNM and TNMP for New Mexico and Texas. And I've been with the company as an employee just around 2 years and a subcontractor for about 3.5.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Dalina?
Yes, so I am Dalina Amador-Bouvet. I am the Supply Chain Sourcing Manager for Generation and Capabilities Development, and this is just like Sara for PNM Resources. So PNM Resources is the parent company of PNM, your electric utility here in New Mexico. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen your parents' bills from PNM. So that's the affiliate here in New Mexico providing power to your houses and to the businesses that we serve. And then we have another affiliate that is Texas New Mexico Power in Texas. So PNM Resources is a company we work for, but we really serve both affiliates, PNM and TNMP. I've been with PNM Resources for almost 11 years and in the same department, supply chain sourcing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we're going to start on talking a little bit. We're going to go back in time and we're going to talk about your education journey. So if you could please, and just feel free to, you don't have to wait for me to introduce you. You can just chime in and feed off of each other. So let's start by thinking about back to when you were in high school and middle school, thinking about how your journey has evolved for education. And so we'll start it off with Dalina this time. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, education is definitely very important, right? It opens doors and opportunities for all of us and definitely makes our life easier in terms of what we could do in the future. So when I was in middle school and high school, I was really focused on getting good grades and making sure that I was part of the honor roll, because in my mind, I really wanted to get a scholarship to go to college. But above and beyond the grades, I think that it is really important to also invest yourself in other activities and also to really apply to your daily life what you are learning. Because something that used to happen to me, and I don't know if some of you would relate to it, is that I would study really hard for a specific subject or test. I would get an A plus, and then 2-3 weeks later, I couldn't remember anything. So what I'm thinking is, if I was back in middle school or high school, I would like to apply that knowledge that I'm learning through the different classes or through my teachers to my daily life. So, for example, if we are studying math, okay, how does that relate to credit cards, to investments? So, pose that type of questions to your teachers, because school is more than just grades, right? It's about sports and experiences. I was not into sports, I was never athletic, but I love theater plays. So I participated in a lot of them, especially through high school. And I had the opportunity to travel with the theater plays. And one of my dreams was when I became an adult, was to go to New York and see one of the Broadway shows. So I did achieve that dream. And it was really a motivation that came from my middle school and high school years. So invest yourself in activities that enriched you as a person and go above and beyond the good grades.
Middle school and high school, I was a band student. I found that the performing arts was a great way to learn and apply my normal education, and it enriched everything that I did. I had a great time with my friends, with the band, and I got inspired by my middle school home ec teacher, and I went to college to be in culinary arts. I was to be a chef. That's what I wanted to do, and that is not where I landed. But and I ended up, due to some very interesting experiences in Colorado, I ended up with a baking degree out of PNM, and I found that you never know where life will take you with the education that you have. It will make you twist and turn into different directions if possible.
So let me tell you, our IT life depends on Sara at PNM Resources. She is amazing. She's a guru on IT systems. We couldn't survive if she's not behind all of us in terms of technology. So
thank you, Dalina.
That's wonderful. And we all need IT services, especially now, right? We're all seeing
right.
that. So I love that we were talking about extracurriculars and the different side of education. And so, Dalina, you touched on being in the theater, and Sara, you touched on being being in the band. Can we, just for perspective, talk about where you grew up? Are you New Mexico locals, or are you from different places?
I'm a military child. I moved around. So middle school and part of high school was here in New Mexico. I went to Van Buren and Highland. I actually graduated from Highland, but I spent part of my high school years in Italy and a Army post. So.
Excellent. So I consider myself a border girl. So I grew up in Chihuahua City. So Chihuahua City is located 3 hours drive from El Paso, Texas. So I went to middle school and high school in Chihuahua City, and then as well as for my bachelor's degree. Then for my master's degree, I had the amazing opportunity to become an NMSU Aggie. So I got my master in business administration with a focus on finance from NMSU in Las Cruces. So when I started my career, I really started working for international companies, because my degree was in international business, my bachelor's. So that really gave me the opportunity to get my network established in the United States. And that's how I ended up over here. And I met my husband at NMSU, and we have 2 kiddos, and they are New Mexicans, and we are settled here in Albuquerque. Albuquerque has been our home for the last 12 years.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. So you touched on college. And so can we touch on our trainings that we have for the jobs that we have now, or your college level? What was your major? What did you do in college that helped you where you're at now?
You want to go first, Sara?
Sure. In college, I went to the Colorado Institute of Art for Culinary Arts. And then things happened. I ended up back here at CNM when it was TVI, and I got a baking degree at CNM, and then went over and opened up the Costco bakery on Eubank. And to age myself a little bit, they overhired for Y2K, and we got laid off. And I ended up searching for a job, and I got different jobs and ended up waiting tables, meeting my husband, and not wanting to work in the same place he was. So I got a job at a call center. I went to Client Logic, which is now Sitel, and I became Earthlink Tier 1 support, Earthlink Tier 2 support. If you don't know what Earthlink is, it's an internet service. So continuing to age myself. But so Earthlink was there alongside AOL, and it was dial-up, and I did technical support for them. And my career went from technical support to a temporary excursion into Citibank as customer service and collections. And then I spent 10 years at Verizon Wireless technical support before I became a part of PNM. And during that journey is an education. Tech does not necessarily need a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree. You need certifications. You need to understand the technical knowledge that you're in. And so I did certifications, and I did training for that, on-the-job training, a lot of on-the-job training. And I grew my knowledge within the business. And when I joined PNM as a subcontractor, I worked our help desk. I worked our desktop team, which is our hands and feet that go to someone's desk and help them out with their machine. And then I went back to I've spent as a standard representative on both the help desk and service desk, but I've been their leads at different times. And then I became the IT supervisor as a PNM employee. So, and I'm going back, and I am currently went back to school for my bachelor's in information technology right now, because it's the one thing not on my resume. So.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's so important, the on-the-job trainings, and that your education, you're still being educated at work with certifications. Thank you so much for sharing. Dalina?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, my bachelor's is in international business. So as soon as I graduated from college, I had the opportunity to start working for the auto industry. So I was working for Delphi, Tier 1 for GM. So basically, this company is located in El Paso and Juarez area. So there was a huge need for bilingual professionals. So being bilingual definitely gave me the opportunity to be hired by GM and be that bridge between the Americans and the Mexicans in Juarez working at the manufacturing facilities. So Delphi was basically assembling all the trucks for GM. So we had to make sure that the manufacturing processes were in line, that everything was as expected by GM, so we could have production ready to go and as required. So that's where I started my career. That gave me the opportunity to spend some years in Detroit, Michigan, because Detroit is the city that was well known in our country, in the United States, as the auto industry city, right? So Ford is over there, GM is over there. Actually, GM has a huge headquarters over there. So I had the opportunity to spend some time over there. I did a lot of traveling because these manufacturing facilities are global. So they have not only facilities in Mexico, but they have facilities in South America, in Europe, and back in those days in Asia as well. Things have changed and have been evolving. So a lot of these facilities have been consolidated in the specific regions of the world. But being part of a global company gave me the opportunity to travel a lot. So I did a lot of traveling because I was doing what I do for PNM now, but for the auto industry and for the manufacturing industry. So it was great, right? I would say that speaking more than one language, it doesn't matter which language. It could be Chinese, it could be French, it could be German. I mean, opens opportunities. So if you have an interest to learn a second language, go ahead and do it, because it is important and it does give you a plus in terms of opportunities. Then when I was going through my master's degree at NMSU, that's when I met my husband. We got married and we started having kiddos. And at that point, I was thinking, well, I cannot really continue traveling internationally with a little one at home, right? So I started looking for local opportunities. So while I was working on my MBA, I applied to PNM Resources to be a sourcing analyst too. And they hired me, and that gave me the opportunity to work for a wonderful local company that it did not require a lot of traveling, like the global manufacturing industry for the cars. So within PNM, I started as a sourcing analyst too. Then I became a sourcing analyst senior. And then for the last 3 years, I've been a manager with PNM Resources. So that's a little bit of my career background.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We're going to go to another question to talk a little bit more about life lessons and taking us through the process of what a job actually looks like. And then we'll tackle some of the questions that are coming into the chat box. So I want to know about a time that you've ever failed or you messed up at work, and how did you handle that? What did you do? So we'll go ahead and start with Sara.
A time that I failed at work. I would say that one of the hardest things that I failed at was an escalation that I had with a customer who had wanted a very specific issue resolved, but was not really actually supported by us. And so no matter what we did, we couldn't fix it and we couldn't help them. And so it had to be escalated to a manager at the time. And it was really hard because I'd like to fix things, and not being able to fix it was the hardest thing. And knowing to understand that we're not miracle workers. We can't fix everything. There will be trials, and some days it goes well, some days it doesn't, but you learn from those mistakes and or issues, and you try and find ways around them and see if you can fix them a different way, or just learn from it. There's something you can grow from every day. You learn a new lesson every day, no matter what it is. So it's definitely something that keeps going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with Sara. I mean, it is really important to learn from our mistakes and don't dwell on them. Sometimes we can get stuck in thinking, oh, why did I do that? Why did I fail? I'm not going to be able to move forward. So don't do that. Just forget about it, learn from it, and keep moving forward. Being prepared for your meetings is important. I remember when I just started with PNM, they gave me a very large account. So what I do, just to clarify it really quick, is we purchase goods or materials and services. So in that way, PNM can build what they need to build to provide power and electricity to your homes and to the other residential and business clients that we have. So anyways, they gave me a very large vendor. This vendor is huge. It's actually an incumbent vendor of ours right now, and they provide a lot of materials, and there was a need to do an analysis. So I just showed up to the meeting with no previous analysis of what we will be reviewing. So when I was there and I was asked a question, I was just completely blank. I couldn't understand what they were asking me. I came up with a statement that didn't make sense. My boss is very nice and kind, so I'm sure that he didn't say anything about it, but he definitely noticed it. So I felt bad, right? I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? I'm not going to be able to do this. But things appear to be harder than they really are. So just never say no without giving it a try. Always give it a try. And like I said, prepare yourself, inform yourself prior to getting into a meeting, or even whenever you are ready to start applying for college, make sure that you do the right research and that you are prepared for what you are looking for. So I think that that's what I really learned from that instance. And also listening. Listening is very important. Now you know that Sara and I are in a leadership position. Listening is a very important skill. You need to be there for your team members. So you need to listen to what they are asking you for, to their needs. You need to be alert, because the more you listen, the more you're going to understand the situation. So that goes back to making sure that we are prepared for any given situation that we are presented with.
Thank you so much. We have some questions from the chat that I'm going to facilitate for us. So it looks like we have students from Miss Salazar's class. And well, the first question is, what is your favorite thing to do at work? So go ahead, Sara. We'll start with you.
My favorite thing to do at work is I have a storage room that is full of computers. I get to take them apart. I get to put them back together. I get to set up donations for those who need them. And I get to set up computers for all of the employees here at PNM and TNMP. So when I get a chance to actually be back there and really working with the computers and troubleshooting, it's a blast. I love to do that.
Thank you. Dalina?
Yeah, I love working in teams. And like, for example, Sara and I have been in projects where we are team members of each other. Working in teams is really, really important. And our company is really big on collaboration. And sometimes when we have sessions with executive management, or even sessions with our staff or our team members, we always kick off the session with a collaboration example. So I really enjoy that. I really think that there is a phrase that I love, and I always like to share it, because alone we can run faster, but together we can get farther. So if you are a good team member, if you learn from each other, if you come up with solutions and be positive, you can definitely do a lot more than if you just try to impose your ideas or try to not listen to what others have to say. So that's what I really enjoy, working with my team or working with coworkers like Sara within the company to accomplish goals and work on projects.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that advice. Student question from the chat: what subject do you wish that you would have studied more in school? And we'll come, Ms. Salazar did raise her hand, so we will go to that question here in 1 second.
I think I would have liked to have studied coding in school. That was not an option when I was in school, but it would have been a great thing to learn.
Right. Yeah, I think that I mentioned initially investments. I think that personal finances were not taught when we were going through middle school or high school. And I believe now schools have a special focus on this type of topics. And that is great. That is really, really great, because being able to know how to manage your money at an early stage of your life will definitely alleviate a lot of problems, especially when you're looking for loans for college and how to manage them and how to better use your money. So it is really something that I believe it's important to focus on and educate our new generations about it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Ms. Salazar, if you'd like to unmute and ask your question, that would be great. We can't hear you, Ms. Salazar. Sorry about that. I can see that you're unmuted, but I can't hear you.
It looks like she put the question in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so this is a great question. So it's talking about your earning. So if you could just give a range of how much money do you make in your job? Or what is the earning potential of starting to your entry level to maximum level?
You want to go, Sarah?
Go for it, Dalina. That's your question.
And we do have Ms. Salazar did just inform us that her class is bilingual. So Dalina, if you would like to say a few things in Spanish, that is welcomed. Some of our other students on the call might not be able to understand. So as long as you just translate it, that would be great.
Okay, great. So I'll go ahead and answer the earnings question in English. So actually, right now we have some postings for openings that we have within my department, and they are public. So if you go to pnm.com, you will be able to see them. So the titles of these positions are sourcing analyst. So when you are at an entry level, you are a sourcing analyst 1 or 2, and then we have seniors as well. So I would say that it goes from $60,000 a year up to $120,000 a year. And this is based on the salary range that we currently have at pnm.com, which is really a reflection of the average salaries that we currently have for these type of positions. So pnm.com, sourcing analyst, if you are aware of any relatives that have a business background, tell them to check it out. So I even had a commercial here. So... and I can say this in Spanish, pues para todos los chicos que hablan español, si visitan la página de pnm.com, ahí pueden ver cuál es la descripción de los trabajos que tenemos en sourcing, y ahí pueden ver también cuál es el rango de salarios que podrían ustedes llegar a ganar si les interesa esta profesión.
Thank you so much. Sarah, go ahead.
And that's about the same for IT, and we have several IT positions from our telecom team to our information security team, and then our infrastructure team and crisis management teams are all part of our business technology services department that I'm in, and we range from the 60,000 for entry level all the way up through about 200,000 depending on your qualifications and that job position. So.
Thank you so much for touching on that. We have another question from the chat. What age were you when you finished school?
I haven't finished school, so I'm taking my bachelor's right now. So I will probably be 44 to 45 when I finish school.
Lifelong learner.
I see it as I'm probably never going to finish school because I learn something new every day.
Yeah, that's a great point. Learning never stops. I think that I believe, well, let me see if I remember correctly. I graduated with my bachelor's degree when I was 23 years old. And then with my MBA when I was 29 years old. And I'm going to be 40 next year. So it has been a long time. So definitely, I should start looking into some sort of certification to keep all the knowledge fresh.
Now I feel old because, yeah. But I have 3 kids that are much older than her, too. I've got a senior in high school, so.
Wow.
My youngest is a 5th grader, and I have an 8th grader in middle school, so, yeah.
Well, excellent. Well, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. And so we do love to close with one specific question. And so we'll do this question quick from Ms. Salazar's class. How many hours per week do you work? And then we will wrap up with our final question.
I don't stop working per se. So I work about anywhere between 50 to 80 hours a week, depending on the emergency, because information technology and IT is not a 8 to 5 job. It is a 24/7 job. I carry 2 phones at all times. So I may leave work during an 8 to 5 work day, but I continue work whenever that phone goes off.
Right. So in my case, I mean, we have been working very long hours as well. I would say it could be 12 to 10 hours a day. And I would like to mention something that I believe is important for students to know. Is Sara and I are in leadership positions. So when you are a leader, the more you have to serve and the more you have to work, right? It's not like, oh, I'm the boss, so everyone is going to work for me and I'm not going to do anything. It's the opposite. You need to be there for your team members on top of all the other projects that you also have to take care of as an individual contributor. So this is important for you to know. If you would like to be a leader, a manager, a supervisor when you are an adult and are pursuing a career, it is about serving others. It's about working harder. So that's why we also work a lot of hours. So, and also, I mean, we provide a basic need, right? What would you do without power at your houses? So we are here really for the customers, and we need to make sure that we help others to keep the lights on. So even though we are not climbing the poles and setting up the transformers, we support all those groups and operational entities and crews that are doing it. So we gotta be there for them.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. So we're going to wrap up with our final question. So Sara, could you go ahead and start us off? What is the best advice you've ever received?
My best advice was to never stop learning. Keep an open mind, and you may go for one career, but that doesn't mean it won't change.
Right. In my case, I remember when I was about to become a manager, I was fearful, right? I thought, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to do this? So I surrounded myself with great mentors. And one of the things that they told me was be yourself and be genuinely kind and honest to your team members and to people. At the end of your life, we are going to be remembered more for our kindness than for any level of success that we could potentially attain or obtain throughout our life. As we know, our world right now is going through a lot of challenges. So it's just going to be easier to navigate through this life if we are kind to each other and be a better version of yourself. I mean, don't compare yourself. Just compare yourself with yourself, right? So that is really what be a better version of yourself means.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sara. Thank you so much, Dalina. It was a pleasure to have you. And to all the students that are on the call today, we really hope you enjoyed the program. But before we log off, we're just going to have a couple of our announcements. So following this presentation, you will be asked to complete a post-program mindset survey. And by completing the survey, you are entered into a drawing for a gift card. So make sure you finish the survey that you'll get sent, and teachers, make sure you have the students fill those out. You can have all of your students enter the drawing. And so huge shout out to our partners who have donated gift cards to us. Thank you so much. That makes us more successful in these events to be able to provide those for these students. And so I will be sending the link out following this event, and you can go ahead and take that survey whenever you have time. So lastly, please make a note that we are no longer doing these sessions weekly. We are doing them monthly. So we will be doing them on the second Wednesday of the month. So next month we will be on October 13th. And that's at 1 o'clock. And we will be welcoming a wonderful panel again from Crew New Mexico, who specialize in commercial real estate. And so we're so excited to have them join us this time around. And just keep an eye out for those registration links. Those should be coming to your email. Thank you so much, Sara. Thank you so much, Dalina. And thank you so much, PNM, for putting this together. And we will see you all next month.